about language, I'm breaking it down simply that you can see the two sides that are going on. These are just some opposites, but they become these tricking words that are used on the legal system by lawyers who, of course, are going to promote a system that they benefit from. So when we're talking about law in its pure sense, we're talking about the law that comes from God. When we're talking about legal, we're talking about the father of the lie, Satan. He's an inventor, not a creator. That's where you get this word invent. It's not a good word, invent, when used really in the even in the context of legal. It's to deceive. It's a contrivance, an artifice being used to take advantage of somebody. So, you know, when we're looking at these words, we've got to be careful because these are spells. There's good spells and bad spells. Satan's side's based on a bad spell that's always hanging over your head. In the world of truth, you're dealing with a spiritual good use of words, and therefore, when we break these down, we're going to get a better understanding. So when we go across, we've got, you know, of course, law with God. We've got legal with Satan, the father of the lie. We know God is the, you know, creator. He's the one of truth. We know that everything really is, you know, good and has credit. There is no debt. But in the world of legal, because it's working with a debtor system that requires people to continue with no hope, only dealing with sin and debt, that's why they, of course, would have to have a name, of course, that would be used in fiction, not in truth, which would be a surname, a last name, or a family name that's dealing with connotations that people have not really researched, because the unwary would not realize surname comes from agnomination or agnomen, a debt or a debtor. A last name or last is a burden spoken of in law, to do a little bit of research. And of course, when they're talking about family, they're talking about stock. So once you're in this, you're part of the stockade. Then you, of course, your given name, of course, is on the truthful side. It's a fact. It's a given. But then and it's also spiritual, opposite to where the lawyers will talk about things of fact, but it's really factitious in their world. It's not really a fact. And then, of course, they're dealing with the corporate idea or the corpus, a dead body, because you're considered to be dead, not the living. So we have to kind of look at this and just take a step back sometimes and realize that we may not have seen these things, and it takes time to absorb it. And why a lot of the videos are at times may seem repetitive, it's because people are skipping over things and they're jumping back into the legal so quickly because they believe that there's no other way. But the only way this can work is based on your lack of knowledge. So you have to retrain your mind to get out of that fictional world that is being definitely run by the lawyers. It's interesting that the word on their side, what we talk about corpus or corporation, it's got an interesting meaning. Assumption of a body, incarnation. They're dealing with a material world that's based on selfishness, about greed, about wealth, about things that are, you know, made up. We know that money doesn't grow on trees, but certainly money seems to be the drug and represents that in the wealth. But when I saw that corporation, an assumption of a body, incarnation, you know, as you've probably seen in previous videos, I seem to break these things down, and I realize that's really an interesting concept in today's modern world. That term, assumption of a body, incarnation, and everybody's driving a car that's part of these nations, that are part of the I-Magi nation, so of men. So it is in the words. Everything is in the words. These words have messages. There's letters in them. You were not taught this. So remember, a letter has a meaning. It has a message. But unfortunately, because of lack of knowledge, no one went to the rudiment of what we're talking about here to go right into these words to find out what they mean. And because of that, they've been easily tripped up and driven into a realm of a prison in their own mind based on spells that they don't comprehend the meaning to. So we got to take the time. It requires the time to do that. Certainly anything I've written down or anything that I've researched didn't happen by chance. It happened because of just going there and simply looking at the words and finding out what the meanings are, and certainly you can do the same thing. So hopefully this video is giving you some insight.